what do you think is the biggest or weirdest or sort of most prevalent myth about cannabis? And if you have a couple of them, we'll sort of do them as separate ones. But
Okay.
yeah.
So to me, one of the basic myths that continues to permeate not only our popular culture and the way that weed exists in our communities, but even our governmental structures and the way that cannabis throughout legalization has been presented is the indica sativa um, categorization, which when it comes to actual plant effects and also just like composition of the plant is simply untrue. There's been so much crossbreeding between indicas and sativas throughout time that virtually all I still say strains, but technically the word would be cultivar because it's a plant, it's not a bacteria. But different, I think that strains is a word that's more accessible to a lot of people who actually smoke weed or consume cannabis. But yeah, so ultimately strains are mostly hybrids at this point. And so the fact that I live in Jojage, colonially known as Montreal, and so I'm in the province of Quebec, and even our government-run stores use the cannabis sativa hybrid categorization system for their cannabis that they sell, which is very interesting considering that there really isn't differences in the effects and sometimes the cannabinoid content of these different quote unquote strains, these quote unquote sativa or indica strains. So that's definitely a myth that has continued to persist. So instead of looking at these categorizations of indica and sativa to get a better idea of what effect you're going to have if you smoke a certain weed or if you consume a certain weed, what's going to be much more useful for you to know is what we call the cannabinoids in the plant. So cannabinoids are different molecules that are in cannabis. Some that you might know include THC and CBD, and there are over 100 of them. There are many of them that have different effects in our bodies. And so the different cannabinoid ratios, if you have a weed that has more THC or a weed that has more CBD or other cannabinoids also will be a better indicator of the effect that you might feel from a certain type of cannabis. In addition to the cannabinoids, we also have compounds that are called terpenes that give weed its smell and its taste. And terpenes also might have, in addition to the kind of like flavor and smell of it, they might also have actual effects in our brains and in our bodies that interact with the cannabinoids. So if you are trying to get to better understand what type of weed works for you, if there's any weed that you want to engage with, like if you're looking to smoke weed and you're looking to have the best time possible, then you might want to think of what are the cannabinoids in this particular type of weed? What are the terpenes? How have I reacted in the past to this type of cannabis that has this dominant smell or fragrance, which would be like the dominant terpene from that one, and just kind of getting to know what resonates well in your body and what feels good for you.